Chosen One!
Welcome to the Chosen One. I'm your host, Qui-Gon Din, and today on this list building exercise, I am wanting to build around bounty hunters, and I kind of want to build a reactive style list that can kind of respond to what some of my opponents doing, along with still being able to hit really hard and do what they want to do. And this is going to probably look similar by the end of this list. It'll probably look very similar to the Zion's Finest, but there's just some avenues I kind of want to look at around playing. Honestly, I really like the idea of Orasing. She is a highly mobile, highly active bounty hunter that can really just kind of do their thing. I'm looking at Boba Fett. Boba Fett is another one of these bounty hunters that can really just move around the board and be very impactful. And the weakness that I always see with the bounty hunter lists is the lack of out of activation movement. And I think you can get cute with, Cassian doing his thing, but I also like playing the game very proactively where I'm not having to rely on the wound if I don't need to. So I think right off the bat, if we're playing bounty hunters, we're 100% going to be taking Cad Bane. I think Cad Bane is locked in when you are playing the bounty hunter list, as you really get all of the force economy by playing Cad Bane. But I like pieces that can move Cad Bane around and help with his mobility as well. And this is where it kind of starts to get interesting on the pairings that we can go. I think I'm going to build two bounty hunter lists this episode, and this is going to be the more mobile. You're using Cad Bane for his positioning power rather than his ability to play the game of I'm going to be the heavy hitting type of kill everything and relying on wounding. I want this to be the kind of tricky list that can give you the access to do what you want to do. And I'm going to right off the bat, I'm going to do PLC. Princess Leia is a very good character that can just generic movement for your list is going to be very good. She can also move Cad Bane, get Cad Bane in positions to use his 2 damage, which is going to be the kind of theme of this list. We want to be able to really hammer in on how hard you can hit. The secondary gets interesting here. The other tricks that you can do with the list, right off the bat, I want to put Shaak Ti in here. Shaak Ti is another character that can move Cad Bane around and does not tax Cad Bane on force because you get that extra force. So you get this really highly efficient list in terms of your force economy is going to be doing work. Shaak Ti can move a lot of different characters around, and this is going to be a strength. As for the support, it's going to really depend on what we want to do with PLC. If we still want the bounty hunters to have a bit of a punch, this is where IG-88 is still an option. And frankly, I actually really like IG-88 quite a bit in terms of what you can do with IG. And by playing extra bounty hunters, we're going to do our thing. I'm really going to focus in here on the bounty hunter tag. We could play weak ways here, but bounty hunters having access to the IG-88 dice makes them really kind of do what they want to do. They are pretty potent at being a good working horse on the table. They're not the greatest support, but they're never going to be the weakest support. Their free dash helps with the force economy. And then if you need them to, chuck a crap ton of dice, they can. when you start mixing in the IG-88, their focus. If they take a focus action, you can give them the sharpshooter and impact 2 with their ability. They still are a very viable support in this list. They help with the mobility. And then, we are stuck with a 3-point character in this slot, and there's nothing wrong with bar 2. We are still running enough bounty hunters in this list to really take advantage of IG-88. I generally like running 3 or 4 bounty hunters. You got the support, you got your Cad Bane. IG-88 can use his own dice. And this is just kind of, I want the mix of, I got heavy output with a little bit of revenge, but with a lot of mobility to it. This list right here is a very, very kind of more scoring style bounty hunter list that's not relying on you getting the wound near as much as other variants of bounty hunters. I have put PLC Cad Bane on the table quite a bit, and I absolutely love the pairing. And you can switch this around. You can play, Luke here and Han and Chewie, and now Han and Chewie are mercenaries, doing the Shock T thing. This is just kind of what I'm leaning on, where the bounty hunters get a little bit extra love here because of IG-88, and I still love them as a support. They're just not as good as weak ways in a vacuum, but they still have all of the tools to work with this list. This list is probably, I would say, a classic B tier list. This is one that I would take to just a standard showdown local event, have some fun, and I don't think it would do too bad. The real trick is, if we want to get as competitive with bounty hunters as possible, this is where Cad Bane and Cassian is going to be a must go to, in my opinion. I think this is the shell that you absolutely need for bounty hunters. And I do agree, if you're taking Bazin Turret or Cassian, you just take Bazin Turret force neutral activation. The force neutral activation is going to be very important for the overall economy of the list. You're playing with 4 force. 4 force is very tricky to make work because you are going to be relying on wounding in this list to get what you need to do. Cad Bane's out of activation movement is basically going to come from the and/or revenge triggers in this list. There's not as many ways to move them unless you're spending force to do it, and you're only going to be doing that if you are getting enough wounds to recover your force. So right off the bat, under Cad Bane, we are doing IG-88. Again, when you're playing bounty hunter list, IG-88 is the build around. And when it comes to the supports, this gets another interesting factor. We can play someone who's more force neutral and can fuel our force economy. But our other secondary is where we really want to pick another bounty hunter. And we can pick Dengar, who will help our force economy and help the reserve mechanic by being a free reserve. I think it's pretty potent, but I am firm belief that Boba Fett is the way to go, because Boba Fett gives you out of activation movement. He gives you a response to your opponent moving something, which means he can get up the board and kind of impact points outside of his turn, which is a huge drawback that the bounty hunter lists do not have access to a lot of. When it comes to the other support, this is where it kind of gets interesting. Do we play bounty hunters? Do we play weak ways? Do we play rebel commandos? I think the big issue of this list is you need activations that can be force neutral. And again, I am going to lean bounty hunters in my personal taste, because if weak way go down, and they will go down, they start taxing your force really badly. Bounty hunters, if they go down, they still have access to the ability to dash towards an opponent's character and then get a full move. They could still impact the board after they have an injured token and their force costs start going up. They're not going to do their focus thing near as much, but you can leverage them with IG-88 still to make it so you're still getting those wounds. And when stuff gets teed up from Andor, bounty hunters can generally be really good at finishing stuff off. This is just kind of like my take on Cad Bane as a whole. He's kind of just there for his identity. His kit's cool, but the real like hero of bounty hunters is IG-88. If you are playing a bounty hunter list that wants to be playing the bounty hunter tag, I think IG is the way to go. He made my A tier in the tier list for a reason, because he is the payoff. He brings you the attrition that other bounty hunter lists just do not get access to. If I want to go into let's go into another list, because this one's going to be interesting as well. And that is, what if we want to do all just thematic bounty hunters in general? Cad Bane, Mando. Mando with IG-88 dice starts to really hit that I'm going to be very, very potent. And, we can put IG with Cad Bane, or we can put him with Mando. And it gives us some interesting choices. If we put him under Mando, we're probably going to take Bartu. And that's because Bartu can remove conditions, which is big. And really utilizing the bounty hunters to do their thing. I love having revenge triggers in bounty hunters because it's going to be your one way of really being able to go ham. And for that, if we wanted to do the all bounty hunters list, where we are taking bounty hunters, Cad Bane, IG-88 bounty hunters, we can do Bosk, and then we just do IG-11. And this list has some serious legs, but it, like Cassian, it relies on you getting wounds to really take advantage, because you need to start wounding stuff quickly, because your activations are less about the out of activation movement. You're going to be utilizing Cad's out of activation movement quite frequently in this list to get him in position, because he kind of becomes your scoring piece. And by doing this bounty hunter setup, you have two revenge triggers that you got Bosk and you got Mando. And the trick is that I wish we had another 8 cost. I wish we had another bounty hunter primary that we can kind of mix this up with, because the thing I don't love is I don't love that both of our revenge triggers are on the same side of the list. I wish Bosk could go over here with Cad Bane, but that's just not the case. But this list has some legs. IG is extremely mobile and can just really hit hard. The problem is if you don't start taking wounds, your ability to score points becomes rather limited. But this is probably the highest attrition list in the game in terms of raw output. The list hits like a truck. So, like, that's the all bounty hunters. I do have another variant of bounty hunters that we can play, though. And this one gets interesting when we start doing Cad Bane things in a mix of prequel era stuff. So right off the bat, we're going to go Cad Bane. Obviously, 9 points, kind of the key to the bounty hunter strategy. But in this pairing, I'm going Luminara. And the reason why Luminara is this brings a very, very powerful kit to what we are going to do. And that is, we are going to abuse Django Fett. Django Fett becomes very powerful under IG-88. And then Luminara is going to feed into our scoring strategy. This little setup right here means Cad Bane's probably going to wound stuff. Django Fett's going to wound stuff. Luminara is going to start moving pieces around the board really quickly. And now we get access to some decent supports. And we got to be picky and choosy here. We got to play supports that can also help get the wound. And that gets interesting because we can go the ISF route. And quite frankly, that's kind of what I'm leaning on in the support slot for Cad Bane. I want a really killy support, and these guys kill better than any other forecast that we can take. And this is, again, leaning into the Luminara side of things with getting wounds. When we get into our other slot, this also kind of gets interesting. Luminara does have the ability to start allowing our supports to do stuff. And we look at her ability. Now, Precise Strike, Galactic Republic supporting unit within range 3 if the chosen unit's card is in the order deck. That character may dash. If the unit's order card is not in the order deck, one character in the chosen unit may make a 5-die attack. The 5-die attack aspect of Precision Strike is kind of cute, but it means you really got to have a support that's going to be able to do your thing, get someplace. And again, in this list, we need our supports to be kind of the ability to act on their own without any real synergies. And this is going to shock you, but this is the one place where I'm like, I actually kind of want the Handmaidens. Again, we are going for the kill in this list, and IG-88 is basically going to enable himself, Cad Bane, and Django to really start wounding. This is a more weird variant of Bounty Hunters, but Django Fett with the IG-11 dice is really, really potent at getting wounds. He does 10 damage on his tree. Whipcord is still really good. He can get around the board. He's actually one of the tankier bounty hunters in the game. And Luminara is just going to allow you to actually play the scoring game by getting wounds. And this is a way of getting aggressive without having to go, I'm really relying on just the IG dice. Your supports in this list get really woundy really quick. The Handmaidens actually hit pretty hard above their weight class, but their strength is the Handmaidens can actually go and score points and tee things up for your bounty hunters. The Imperial Special Forces can tee things up for your bounty hunters. This is kind of the weirdest variant, but I feel that this list has just as much legs as something like PLC with CAD, and you can just do a lot of work with it. So this has just been kind of a bounty hunters building experience. Thank you for watching this episode of The Chosen One. If you'd like to watch the next video, you can watch the one in the link above. And if you want to listen to the podcast, you can listen to the playlist below. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you for your support. Please like and subscribe.